I thought you were starting. My bad.
Oh,
Oh.
I thought you said that you were going to start it for a second.
Well,
I mean, I can't
I,
start it.
I,
Or have we
I,
already started?
we've started. Hello,
Okay.
everyone. Welcome to a brand new episode of Comment Section. My personal, you're not supposed to play favorites with your kids, but my personal favorite
At least
child
that's what the
is,
experts say.
yeah, I mean, who knows? It might make one of them turn out better. It might be a net
Come on,
positive.
dear Abby.
Yeah. My personal favorite child is giving our top end of the year lists because, I mean, just the way my brain works, it loves lists. It loves to list things in order and to think about it all year. I don't even just do it for the clickbait of it, the like 10 best movies. I just like lists. Sue me.
Yes. That's one more thing you have in common with Santa Claus.
Yes, we
Although
both like
your favorite would be the
lists.
naughty list. Like, all right, let's see some disappointed kids on Christmas.
That's right.
Give them that coal. Although for some kids, when it's super cold, that coal is the best gift of all to help warm their house.
Yeah, beautiful. But yeah, this year, like many of years, we have two major list episodes. This first one is going to be our TV list. We're going to start with that. And we're going to end this episode with video games, music, and comics of the year 2025. And then tune into next episode where you'll get the big one. Best movies of the year. That's right. And worst.
Yes.
So, yeah, that'll be our movies list. This will be our TV, video games, music, comics list. And, yeah, give the people what they want right at the top. Let's start with our TV list. That is
Oh, yes.
TV that has aired in 2025, somewhat ordered from, not worst, but lowest to best to our favorite TV thing that happened this year.
Yeah, unlike this, unlike our movies one, we can't really do a worst of TV list because that would require us to watch multiple episodes of a show we don't like.
That's
and
true.
in a way, life is kind of too short for that. Although, for all you people who hate watch stuff, good luck. Because, man,
Best of luck to you.
even when you're trying to give something a chance and it's bad, that's a real tough sit-through. But to have that dedication to hate watch something and to have the ratings grow and to have it continue on, it seems like it's a weird way to go about showing you hate a show, but...
Yeah, it is a weird way to
you.
do that. Yeah, that's why, like, anything I might have started that I didn't really care for, anything that I may have started this year, like, I just didn't continue the series, and I haven't thought about it again. So, really, this is a list of most of the TV that I watched this year, just in order of how much I liked it, kind of.
Oh, yes. Oh, by the way, I feel like I'll give a little asterisk over something. There are two shows that I watch that, because I have not seen any 2025 episodes, I can't in good conscience put them on the list because I don't know if they're bad in 2025 or not. Those two are, I'm still going through 2024's Futurama, and I am still in 2010 on It's Always Sunny.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I do think that this is I think of this as rating the season that has come out in 2025, or some of it had to have aired in 2025. And we're rating that season, not like the show in general.
Yeah, the season itself. By the way, speaking of which, I have something I wanted to ask you, and I don't know if it could be a controversial topic.
Okay.
Because it's not something I like check. I look into how other people react, but I'm just curious.
I'm the controversy king. Nothing can burn me.
Yes.
I can take it.
I'm curious about how you'll feel about how I feel about It's Always Sunny. Certain thing. So I watched the first 4 seasons.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed them. I gotta say, I did not like season 5.
Well, what? I have to check what episodes are in season 5 to really get it. But
I would say in season 5, it felt like, it's the same formula, but like it felt like some of the premises got so stretched that like it just didn't work. But then I'm in season 6, and it's like, okay, now we're back to normal.
Okay, interesting.
By the way, last one I watched, I really enjoyed the one where Mac and Charlie's moms move in together.
Oh, that one's awesome.
That was
Yeah,
a really good one.
yeah.
But like, I don't know how other people feel about season 5, but like to me, I was like, I think this is kind of the worst season so far.
I think what's weird about that to me is that it doesn't, like, I'm looking at the episodes now, and nothing stands out to me as really all that different. Like, I don't think I noticed a dip in quality. I know I love season 4, so I would like it better, but
Yeah.
but I really like the gang gives Frank an intervention. I really like the gang wrestles for the troops. The dentist system is one of the most
That was
popular episodes. Like,
that was one of those like, okay, I stuck it out for this season. And we
that's
got
towards the
one.
end though. So
Yeah.
yeah, I would say looking at it, it's not like I think my favorite. On my rewatch, I really liked what people call the Fat Mac season because he gained a bunch of weight for it. I think it's 8.
Oh, okay. But yeah. I didn't know if there was like any like I didn't know if like season 5 was like some people's favorites. I'm like, I don't know. This one just didn't work for me.
I think people like it. I don't know that it's like considered the best or anything, but I think that might be a slightly unusual opinion.
Oh, okay.
But it doesn't matter. This is all on topic because I will be bringing up the show again later. But until then, how about we flip a coin or do whatever you have? If you don't have a coin, then I'll...
You don't think after 8 years I would lose the first gift Paul ever gave us? Producer
That's
Paul.
True. That's going to be in a museum someday.
Yes, it will. Right by, they'll have our 2 microphones, and then right in the middle will be this penny.
Yeah.
Or it will be sad where it says, replica of the penny.
Yeah.
The same here and everything.
Yeah. The other one's in storage.
This is now like a collector's item. Now they stopped making these.
Yeah.
All right, so.
And this is to see who gets to say their entries first.
Yes. Now, for tradition, you are always
Tails.
Yes, we can't be like how Marvel has been lately and just assume everyone has seen everything.
Yeah.
We gotta give a little bit of context and background.
Yeah, and if it's playing Sonic Crossworlds, then I would always pick Sonic. But and not Tails.
Oh. My goodness. End of the year, quite a twist. We actually got a twist this time.
Wow. Yeah, Tails was actually doing me very good for a long time. I think
it was too.
Yeah, it is time that. Oh, by the way, I just thought of how this isn't on my video game list because I forgot about it. But there's this weird video game where it's literally just you flip a coin over and over again and see how many in a row you can get. And
is it
then
like an iPhone game or something, or
it's on Steam, so on computer. But there is a twist to it where you can do things to alter your luck. But when I tried it out, I kept thinking like the always pick Tails, my thing. But anyway, so that means you are going to start us out with the first thing on your list. That is not the best, but the first thing you're going to bring up on your list of TV of 2025.
Yes. Now I have mine ranked, and I can't remember. Did you say you had 7 or something shows or 9?
Technically, I have 9, but
okay.
I'm gonna.
I have 8 listed.
I'm gonna chunk 3 of them together as a quick little statement. Okay.
So, and mine are ranked. We'll be going up to see what was the best show of 2025.
Yeah.
I'm going with my number 8. 7 and 8, I kept debating about. I'm not going to bury the lead. This was a really good year for TV. I thought. I was very happy with this year.
Yeah.
of TV. So my number 8 show is Marvel's Daredevil Born Again. That's right. A show a lot of people have been counting down to since, I guess, 2018, the return of Daredevil in new episodes. That's right. So I feel like I gotta give a little disclaimer at first, okay? A little disclaimer. There are some people who feel that Daredevil is the greatest superhero TV show of all time. And I can respect that. I do not share that opinion. No, don't get me wrong. I like Daredevil. But, like, I don't think it's the best. I don't think it's the best superhero show of all time. Even narrowing it down, I don't think it's the best Marvel TV show of all time. Like, if you count the animated shows, I think, like, the 90s Spider-Man and X-Men are better. I like Spectacular Spider-Man more and Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes more. And even if we're going to limit it to live-action shows, I think that the Bill Bixby Hulk TV show is better. So, you know, I know there's some people who think it's the greatest. I'm happy you do, and I like it, but I don't put it on a pedestal like other fans do. Like, I'm like, you know, I like it. It's good. Mm-hmm. So, like the original show, I liked it, but I didn't love it like other people do, but I really, really enjoyed this season of Daredevil. I will say, I think out of the Marvel Disney Plus shows, it is the best live-action season they've ever had. So, in this show, one thing that really stands out is that it went street level and it went darker, which you expect from Daredevil, which right now in Marvel feels so refreshing. Like, you know, we've just been having the last few years, we've been going bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think that's kind of the consequence of losing Captain America, losing Black Panther, having Spider-Man only in one movie in the last 5 years. And I think that's, you know, we've had so many movies where it's just like the world's in danger, we're going into space. Having just a guy fight criminals on the street it's just so refreshing. And once again, Vincent D'Onofrio returned as Kingpin, and he has continued to be one of the scariest and most interesting villains in the MCU. And now, Kingpin is mayor of New York City. And, you know, with stuff going on now, it feels very timely to have a criminal serving an important elected position. Mm-hmm. And I'll just say, it felt very timely. Now, here's one criticism I do have. We spent so much, a huge chunk of this season, with Matt deciding he's no longer Daredevil. Which, you know, it can be fine for some stories. But this is now the 3rd season in a row we've done that story, when you count Daredevil Season 3 and Defenders. It did feel like, come on, Matt. Aren't you over it already? But, again, I mean, I guess it's been a few years, so
yeah,
there's something like that. But, I mean, I'll be honest, it did feel tired. Like, really? Again, we're going back to this? But, still, once he came back, oh my God, was it awesome. And like I'll do with all these shows, I'll give a few special episode shout-outs. And for Daredevil Born Again, one of my favorite episodes was titled With Interest. Now, a lot of people, the word filler episode has a negative view by a lot of fans, because I guess a lot of fans now just want a movie chopped up into 6 parts. But that's what television is. You have great episodes when it's just 1 hour-long story. And this episode showed how great that can be. It's a very simple story, which is bank robbers come into a bank and take everyone hostage. Now, Matt Murdock was just out at that bank, and he hears the commotion, and he goes back into the bank to try to, make sure everyone is safe, even though he's not Daredevil yet. But you see, this is important in him, in his journey in becoming Daredevil again. So he is one of the hostages, and he works with assistant bank manager Yusuf Khan, who fans of Miss Marvel will know that's actually her dad. And as much as I love the episode, I'm not going to lie. Some very, on-your-nose Easter eggs about Miss Marvel. No one. They constantly name-drop Kamala Khan. Okay, yeah, we get it. You're her dad. Mm-hmm. Yes, we know Miss Marvel. But still, that was just one little issue of what was overall a very good episode. And we see how Matt works with Kamala's dad to make sure that no one gets hurt. And he takes out the robbers. And he doesn't wear the suit this episode. But, did it not matter, because it was still awesome. And one episode I also have to give a shout-out to is Excessive Force, which is not just because that's the episode where he gets the suit, but it's such a great build-up, because throughout this season, Matt Murdock is defending, because, he's a lawyer, he's defending this character who is also a vigilante named White Tiger. And White Tiger is later murdered. Now, in the episode, a serial killer named Muse is creating street art on New York with people's blood. And White Tiger's niece believes that her uncle was investigating Muse before he died. So she tries to investigate this killer and is kidnapped by him. And that's the moment where Matt's just you hear the music and you're like, oh boy, once Matt knows, it's time to suit up and return as Daredevil. And he goes to, I think he was in the subway station, an abandoned part of the subway station. And he goes there and you get that fight scene. And, it was awesome. So those two are, for me, the two standouts of the season. I do have 2 episodes I still need to see of the season, but I've seen enough to know, man, I really enjoyed this season. So, yeah. Another, Marvel on Disney Plus lately has been getting better. And this was another win for them on Disney Plus. I was very happy with how this season has turned out for Daredevil Born Again.
Cool. Well, yeah, Daredevil Born Again. Glad that's good. So I'll get into then my, I kind of arbitrarily decided these 3 things I just have less to say about. So I'm going to quickly go over these 3, which is basically my 9, 8, 7. The first one, as you were mentioning, you've seen enough of the season to be able to make a judgment, sort of. The only reason it's my number 9 is because I haven't seen enough to... It's good and significant in the year enough to talk about right now, but I've only seen the first episode at the moment, so...
Okay.
But this is what is shaped up...
After we record this, you're going to watch the rest of the season and be like, oh god, how I feel like an idiot.
Yeah, I highly doubt it, though. This is shaping up to be... I think that this is the highest reviewed TV show of the year, period. Pluribus. I've only seen the first episode, and so, again, I'm assuming the rest of the season is good, but I'm putting it here as a shout-out to what is going to shape up, I hope, to be one of the best shows of this year and has potential, thanks to the genius of Vince Gilligan of Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul fame, and the performance of Rhea Seehorn to be a truly classic TV series. I have high hopes for this, and I think at this point in time, I just want to shout it out after seeing one episode. Number 8, I really enjoyed the comedy series The Studio.
Oh, did you say what the title was of the other show?
Pluribus.
Pluribus, okay.
Yeah. But The Studio is a cringe comedy series satirizing Hollywood and movie making in general, starring and co-created by Seth Rogen. This was some of my favorite comedy of 2025 and wonderfully hard to watch. I especially loved and should shout out the 2-part season finale episodes. Those episodes and a lot of the episodes of the show in general make me feel like I'm watching a Rube Goldberg machine of cringe movie making scenarios. So it's just constant chaos in the movie making industry. Great show. And lastly, I just very recently this year, this show's season 3 is airing this year currently and is about to conclude, I think. But I only just started watching the show a few weeks ago. It's Smiling Friends, and which is basically an adult animated comedy that feels like what adult animated comedies are for people who don't like adult animated comedies. But
what is it on? Is it on Netflix or something?
It's on HBO Max, but it's an Adult Swim show. It's an Adult Swim show, and it scratches that itch of like the Adult Swim itch of like, what the hell am I watching? Waking up at 3 a.m. and being confused. But it scratches that absurdist comedy itch for me right now. Season 3 has been banger after banger, with my favorite episode probably either being the one that introduces the Schmalugals, which are these little creatures that seem like a annoying or like a parody of Smurfs, basically. But and then you've got the Mole Man episode, where the Mole Man living under their office has observed their adventures all along. So yeah, that's my quick 987.
Oh yes, for everyone's sanity, I'm glad you didn't lump in 6-7, or people would have just smashed their phones listening to this.
We're too old for that.
Yes. All right, so I'll go on to my number 7 show.
Cool.
And of King of the Hill. That's right. So, I enjoyed, again, kind of like Daredevil, I enjoyed the original run of King of the Hill, but I don't put it on the same level of like The Simpsons or Futurama or The Critic or another show I love, The PJs, that had Eddie Murphy.
Right, yeah.
I don't put it at that level. And I would say but I think the best way to describe it is that 80% of King of the Hill works, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you'll watch it. Sometimes you'll get kind of a dud episode, but for the most part, it does work. And by the way, I mean this as a compliment. I hope that what I say, it does come off as a compliment. But King of the Hill, when you're not feeling well, is kind of like a perfect show to watch when you're sick.
Oh,
because it's just chill. It's just you're just kind of chill. So it's kind of a go-to show whenever I'm sick. Like, it's not crazy like The Simpsons. It's more down to earth and chill, but still a cartoon.
Yeah.
So there's that. So one thing that really stood out about the revival was that they were going to age up the characters. It wasn't going to be like, we're back in Ireland just the way we remember it. No, they've aged since the show ended, and I think that it really is interesting to see the characters age and where they are in their lives now. Unfortunately, once you age, some characters aren't there anymore because they'd be too old. One of them is Hank's dad, and the other is their dog Ladybird would not be around anymore.
Yeah.
That's just scientifically impossible. But I think the thing... Well, I do like I do like how the characters aged. I do think that the show does miss having Bobby Hill as a young kid. Because, man, Bobby, his point of view as a young kid would really lead to the best episodes. And now we have him as an adult. And look, he's still, the best character in my opinion, along with Dale. Because really, it's really Hank Hill is the straight man in a world full of crazy characters.
Yeah.
But I do think the show kind of does miss young Bobby Hill. But having the characters older, it is nice to see that Hank and Bobby, who didn't really click in the original show, like Hank just didn't get Bobby's point of view on stuff. It is nice to see that they are closer now that Bobby's older, which does differentiate this revival to the original show. And just like the original, not every episode's story does work, but most of it does. And the show, for those of you who don't know, the original show was created by Mike Judge and Greg Daniels, and Greg Daniels went on to do The Office and Parks and Recreation. And this season, just like the other shows, not to take away from Mike Judge, but this is the only thing I've seen of his. But like this show does a good job of showing Greg Daniels does a great job of finding the humor within the mundane. And a couple shout-out episodes I'll give for this season was... All right, my favorite episode of the season was titled Peggy's Fade Out. And that's an episode where Hank learns that Bill goes to a barber shop and he lies to them and says that he is married to Hank's wife, Peggy. And when Hank tells Bill, you gotta put an end to this lie, Bill decides to end the lie by saying that Peggy died and holds a fake funeral for her at his house.
Wow.
Yes, and Peggy is just across the street, loving seeing people mourn for her. So that was my favorite episode of this season. And another one I'll shout out is called Any Given Hill Day, and that's one where Bobby and his girlfriend take Hank to a fantasy football camp for the Dallas Cowboys. But the real gem is the B-plot of that episode. And that's where Peggy starts a lending library, you know, like where you put like a little mailbox with books in and people can take them. She starts one of those, and then she learns that the books contain bed bugs, and that's spreading all throughout their little community.
Wow.
And I believe that was the last episode where Dale Gribble, who is up there with Bobby as my favorite character, I believe that was the last episode that Johnny Hardwick voiced him in, and now it's the guy who voiced Hank's dad is now taking over the role. But that was a really nice, even though it wasn't planned, I don't think. Obviously they would have wanted him for more, but I think that was kind of a nice kind of like send off for Johnny Hardwick as Dale Gribble. So yeah, so overall, really enjoyed this revival of King of the Hill, Hulu's King of the Hill, which is my number 7 show of 2025.
Cool. Yeah, King of the Hill is always a show I've liked and respected, but I've only seen like really quite a few, really, but a bunch of like random episodes. Like,
yeah,
I've not just like in the modern age just sat and watched from beginning on a streaming service. I only have seen maybe between like 10 to 20 episodes on TV randomly.
Oh, yeah, you really got to make sure you get like the right episodes. Because, again, some of them just don't work. But then when you get a really good one, you're like, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll get into my number 6 now. And my number 6 is an entirely new rabbit hole of like an interest of mine that I realize I've never talked about on this show ever before.
Oh,
and,
boy.
It was sort of a thing where, for some reason, it didn't compute to me that I could put it on my lists because it is like a niche streaming-only shows. And I'm talking about the shows released by Dropout TV, which Dropout TV is a very niche streaming service, mostly for nerds and people. But the story of Dropout TV, they have their own slate of shows.
Is it a free streaming service like Tubi
it costs
or do you got to
like
pay for
$5 a month or something?
Okay.
But some episodes are free on YouTube. But if you want to watch the whole series, it's like $5 a month on dropout.tv. But their story is, if you remember from like the golden age of YouTube, College Humor, they went under and Dropout, hence Dropout College Humor, the naming. They tried to go the streaming service route. They found a weird amount of success doing that, and now they're a pretty successful niche streaming service. They're successful at least enough to produce a lot of their own shows. A lot of them are like game shows or improv comedy based. Like one of their shows is called Make Some Noise, which is basically just what's that famous improv show? I just
Whose line is it anyway?
Yes, yeah, it's basically just that. But my favorite show of theirs, and the one that's my number 6, is called Game Changer. And the series Game Changer, they're now in season 7. And it has grown to be, and here's also where I'm going to, for the video watchers, share visuals. But Game Changer over the years has grown to be a really elaborate show with quite a budget. I mean, not Marvel movie budget, but they do some pretty interesting things with the money they have. So Game Changer.
Oh wow!
Game Changer is a game show where the game changes every show, and the concept is that 3 contestants come on, it's styled sort of like a 70s game show kind of looking thing. Three contestants come on, and they don't know the game that they're playing. It's just they know it's a game show, and so every episode is something different. Like some of the concepts are more simple, like you want to get the answer wrong, but they don't tell you the rules. So the contestants are trying to figure out that, we actually have to say the wrong answer. So they're really simple ones, especially in the earlier seasons. And as the show has gone on, it's gone more and more elaborate. And yeah, the season 7 has been great. I'll shout out one particular episode that's my favorite episode of this season, which is actually the first episode of the season, which is also a good example of how elaborate and just cool concepts these episodes get. The first episode of this series of season 7 is called 1 Year Later. And the concept is a year before they recorded season 7, episode 1, they pretended to record an episode with 3 contestants down at the bottom. They're improv comedians, Jacob Wysocki, Vic Michaelis, and Lou Wilson. Which, by the way, Lou Wilson, I know him from Dropout, but he's on Jimmy Kimmel. He's the announcer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So these 3 contestants, a year before they recorded this episode, came in and thought they were recording an episode. They answered a bunch of game show questions and stuff. The episode is 1 year later. They come in, they're asked the same questions again, but they have to remember what they said a year ago, basically.
Oh.
I could have been getting it confused with another episode there, because I also know in this 1 year later episode, they prepared for doing something. I was thinking of a different episode. That's one episode. There's this other episode where and this was my favorite episode of the season, which is they were given prompts, like game show prompts, that they had 1 year to fulfill. So that included trying to get 6,000 followers on SoundCloud by making your own music. The person who has the most interesting car decoration, and like Lou made his car like Joker themed, and that got brought up on Jimmy Kimmel's show. And it was just fascinating to see the things they came up with a full year later. Very interesting show. I love little gimmicks like that. And Yeah, it's a great series. And yeah, game changer. Uh, I highly recommend it. I highly recommend Dropout in general. I mean, if I were to like throw in more bonus shows, like I said, this year's Make Some Noise episodes have been very good too for just some quick improv comedy. And anything Dimension 20, which is their Dungeons and Dragons actual play series. Both highly recommendable, but I'm always the most excited for Game Changer because that's when they really get wild.
Oh, yes. So I guess I'll move on to my number 6 show then. My
All
number
right.
6 show is a show I didn't have faith in, but it was a pleasant surprise. And that is Peacock's The Paper. That's right. So I was really hesitant about going back to the Office world
Yeah.
because it's not like the Office ended with us, begging for more, right? It did overstay its welcome by a couple years. But sometimes I think about what episodes have been like if we had recorded this show earlier. I'm not going to lie. Do you know how many episodes there would have been like, oh my God, just put The Office out of its misery.
Yeah.
It's tired. It's done. By the way, when are they finally going to kill off Andy Bernard? But I was like, okay, you're going to do it. All right, let's see what you got. So I literally sat down, popped it on, no faith. And I didn't think the trailer was very good either. But again, comedy trailers are really hard to do. It's easier for like action to get like you excited when you see a little bit of action, but comedy is really tough, especially when you don't really know the characters. And that's why I think really Oscar's moment in the trailer was really the only part that I found funny because I knew Oscar, but here was a group of characters I really didn't know.
Yeah, that context of knowing the background of a character is very important. Like once I feel like sometimes there are some shows, especially shows that have like their own language of comedy that they've developed over the years, where it starts to be where anything that character says is just going to be funny because you know the character and it's funny that they're saying it. Like, so it's hard to capture that in a trailer.
Yeah, even like a great pilot like Abbott Elementary. I rewatched it recently. I was like, man, this is even better knowing who the characters are.
Yeah.
So sat down and watched The Paper, and it just hooked me right away. Although I will say this, because you've seen The Paper, I think we talked about it. So you've seen the pilot.
Yeah.
There was one kind of like kick in the heart. It hurts to see this. What are you doing? I just want to go into a ball and cry.
Do you mean that Dunder Mifflin offices
fate of Dunder Mifflin.
Yeah.
It was just like, what?
They really did stomp on it. I thought that was a kind of a bold move that I almost respected, where they really were just like stomping on your feelings at that moment.
By the way, how great was it to see Bob Vance again? That was just like, oh my God, I was not expecting that.
Yeah, and starting the show with that.
Yes. So, but again, it does, as heartbreaking it does explain why they're not following the Dunder Mifflin crew again. And how it led us to the toilet paper company and the newspaper. So, I really like this group of characters, like Ned, Mare, Esmeralda, and Ken. And by the way, I've seen the whole season now. And one thing I have to say that I feel like was a very wise choice with this show. Because do you remember when we talked about this show, we thought, who's going to be the Michael Scott? Who's going to be the Dwight character? Remember?
Yeah.
I think it was so smart that Ned is not just a Michael Scott clone.
Yeah.
Because I think that was a big mistake they had with Andy Bernard in the later seasons. Because when you watch The Paper, you're enjoying Ned as his own character. You're not like thinking the whole time, God, I miss Steve Carell. So
Yeah.
I thought that was such a smart choice on their part.
And the thing is, they clearly do have the archetypes. Like for one, I often would think, I forget his name, but the guy with the dark beard and the vest, he's basically Dwight.
Oh.
I think he seems a
yeah.
lot like Dwight. And the I think it's Ken. Yeah, Ken is he truly is just David from the British version of The Office. So it's interesting they don't have
Ken
a Michael
is such
Scott.
a buck kisser and will do whatever it takes to help the company.
Yeah. Yeah, and there are times when Esmeralda feels a little Michael Scott. But the main the leader role that like we were hoping that Ned wouldn't just be a Michael Scott, and I completely agree. I think it's refreshing that Ned isn't an archetype that was in a previous version of The Office. He's got his own unique flaws and unique strengths. And yeah, his character really is kind of part of what makes it work, I think. Is how he's trying to ring everyone along.
Yeah. And also, I have a lot of respect for this show. For when they brought up Superman, they showed George Reeves. That I have a lot of respect for, because not to get on a whole thing, but I know like people will only go back to the Christopher Reeve era. That's as far back as they're willing to go. Because like George Reeves, black and white. Seriously, guys, the George Reeves Superman show, especially those black and white episodes, are so good. Like, honestly, outside of Smallville and Superman Lois, that might be your I think that is probably the best gateway drug into Superman, is those old George Reeves episodes. So, yeah. And so, I've really enjoyed all the characters that we've had. And bringing in Oscar, I think, was a really smart move, because it makes it feel like a legit Office spin-off type show, you know? Like, I think one thing, and again, it's a little bit apples to oranges, but I think that if we didn't have someone from The Office, it would have felt like the Helen Slater Supergirl movie, which was connected to the Christopher Reeve Superman movies. However, Christopher Reeve isn't there. He only appears in a poster, and that movie feels like you're trying too hard. This feels like a cheap kind of spin-off, but like having Oscar there makes it feel more legit. Like, okay, this is an Office spin-off, a true proper successor to the show, and I think having him there is great, and he feels like he has a lot of good chemistry with these other characters. Like, he just fits in so well with this group of characters. And man, I had another point and it just escaped me. But I also feel like when you look at this show, it does, saying it at, The Office did feel timely, saying a show in an office, in the 2000s, right before, the economy went bad and all that. I do feel like having a show set in a struggling newspaper, it does feel very timely, and it feels like it has a lot to say and have a commentary on the current state of journalism. Like how Mayer was just dragging articles from the AP. Like from AP.
Yeah.
A little bit of behind the curtain. I spent some time at a local TV station, and just like Mayor, I did drag stuff from the AP, because that's a lot of what you do. So there's some stuff that I'm just like, yeah, that's true. So again, I thought this was a really, really good show, and I do have a couple episodes to shout out. Now, I will say there were like 2 episodes that didn't work for me. I can't remember what one was, but one was the 9th episode of the season. That was just like, it just didn't work for me. Like, I don't know if have you seen the whole season?
Yeah, I've seen the whole thing.
It was the one where Esmeralda has the dream about, I think his name is Barry. And I'm just like, what? This just doesn't fit.
The cult one too, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then like Ned and Mayor get into this argument thing. And it feels like it's kind of important, and then it just kind of gets solved by, hey, we've been nominated. So to me, that episode didn't really work. But again, I think most of the time the show does work. And I do have 3 episodes to shout out. One of them is Scam Alert, which is where the paper covers a catfishing scam, and Esmeralda learns that she is a victim of it. Another one I really liked was Journalism, which is when Ned has the paper try products that they will then write reviews of, and he tries, I don't remember exactly what it was, but his face does get messed up in it because of it.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah. My favorite of the season was the episode Church and State, and that's when the paper covers a plumbing issue in Mayor's apartment caused by Softy's flushable man wipes. And that's one where we get to see Ned in a kind of a different light, where he becomes a salesman. And by the way, it did feel like important thing to talk about. Like, hey, what do you do? Especially because we live in a time where a lot of media companies are owned by someone else.
Yeah.
By another company. What do you do when there's contrasting things? And I thought, having Ned, go be the salesman for Softy's toilet paper was a funny, satisfying end to the story. And also, I really liked the subplot of Esmeralda trying to get her son in a Softy's commercial and just making it about herself.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my favorite episode of the season. So
yeah,
overall, pleasantly surprised with the paper. And my one request, I hope it becomes an NBC show, because I would like to have more in a season, and maybe like some Halloween Christmas episodes.
Yeah, that's one thing that I always miss that from, like, when you get 20 or even 24 episodes in a season, like, it just allows you to do a lot more, and it avoids that problem you talked about earlier of it just feeling like a movie split up into 10 parts or something.
Yeah.
With a sitcom, I think that's really good.
Yeah.
I was also going to mention, I'm going to bring up the show a little later, but I'll just bring it up now. My episode choice was also actually Church and State.
Oh, okay.
Because I was looking over the episodes, and I kind of felt like I think I just liked all of them pretty good. Like, I was having trouble picking one out, and I sort of remembered it more as like B plots and A plots, just like I kind of remembered pieces. But then I read that episode synopsis, and I was like, oh, that was the episode where I felt like the show, like they got what to do with the show.
Yeah.
Like it feels like this isn't the paper company office humor show. Like there's a new element. And when I first saw the trailers, the thing I thought could work was, okay, the journalism thing. That element could make this show work. And that felt like the climax of that felt like there's really like 2 climaxes in the season. One of them obviously is the will they, won't they.
Yeah,
the other
between
is,
Ned and Mayor.
Yeah. The other is Ned trying to make this thing have journalistic integrity.
Yeah.
And it felt like Church and State was the climax of that part, where it really, it felt like maybe those episodes in The Office where there's strangely more plot than there usually is, like the deposition or something. Where, and there, I think that episode maybe even had a little bit of wasn't there some kind of meeting or something? I don't know. But it just, I felt like that was where this has the journalism comedy part that I appreciate, and it made that episode work.
It was such a smart move to not just have them be salesmen again, like have it be set in a newspaper, so it is almost a different genre type of show too. But still a comedy set in a workplace.
Exactly. So yeah, that happened to be my choice as well. So, anything else, or should I get on to my number 5?
No, let's keep this thing a moving.
Cool. My number 5, also a sitcom, but this one running a little bit longer. It's always Sunny in Philadelphia, season 17. So the show is keeping along. I think in some. So I really liked. My feelings about this show, having seen all of it multiple times now.
Multiple, like beginning to end, the whole thing.
Yes. I really just comfort show for me. But the thing about It's Always Sunny, the opinion I think I've come to is I truly believe that every season has stuff that works and is mostly very good. And I just appreciate them having fun trying stuff out. Even when something doesn't work as well, or it's like an episode that I might skip more often, I just like seeing the boys have fun with making each other laugh. And so season 17 was another really good season to me. With newer seasons, I think a lot of fans are split on some of the less, or how do I put it? There have been some episodes in recent seasons that are maybe more ambitious than what people want out of the show, and people started to miss the more mundane situations of earlier seasons. And I think this season feels like a little bit of a response to that. And last season too a bit. But yeah, there's just some. It's mostly just several somewhat more down to earth. Although my favorite episode of the season is kind of one of the less believable ones, but somewhat more down to earth, mundane situations with crazy characters thrown in. I would like to shout out. My favorite episode of the season was Mac and Dennis become EMTs, where they do in fact become EMTs and start riding around in an ambulance. And it's a little bit of a parody of The Bear, I believe, the cooking show, because the B plot, and really one thing, and I think a lot of episodes of this show, the B plot will find its way to the A plot at some point, which is always cool when it does that. But that happens in this episode where Mac and Dennis's thing is they want to become EMTs because there's a rush in it. And Charlie and Frank are starting a like ghost kitchen restaurant type of thing, like a spicy chili or a burger restaurant. And Dee is becoming basically like an Uber or DoorDash driver type person, delivering the food. And it's just this extreme intense episode where it's the intensity of Mac and Dennis responding to emergencies in an ambulance, and then the intensity of like the Bear style drama of like running a kitchen, and Charlie's like running a kitchen, and it's all intense and stuff. And then they realize, oh, we can deliver food in the ambulance. And the whole time everyone's like getting high on hot peppers. Like they're like, oh, it gives you a little bit of a high. And so everyone's sweating, and it's such a crazy episode. And then one thing I could see being a major criticism of this season, and it's a bummer when this happens. I don't know what the logistical reasons were, but I think there might be 2 or 3 episodes without Danny DeVito. And there's a plot reason, and he's off doing something, and they're preparing for when he comes back. So they like figure it out story-wise, but and then so the last episode of the season is the episode where he comes back, and everything kind of over the last few episodes has built up and goes wild at that point. And so the last episode of the season is another shout out for me. But yeah, it's when stuff like that happens, it's like you hate to see one of the main characters not be in some episodes.
Yeah,
they were still good episodes. So yeah, Always Sunny, season 17, and there's going to be an 18 as well. Who knows when they'll say? I forget it. I forget what year it was where they renewed 4 more seasons. I don't know if they're getting to 20. Was it? Yeah, I don't know. Danny DeVito's in his 80s now, so I always imagined, I don't know, like, and I hope Danny DeVito lives to 120, but
Yes.
I always imagined that they would end it when he passes, unfortunately. Like that they would do some kind of really messed up episode after he dies, and that would be the last episode. That's my prediction.
Yeah.
Like it would be like the last episode would be Frank's funeral, and that it would be kind of messed up in our real world. What they like, just almost like it's disrespectful, but a wink and a nod. It's actually very respectful. He would have wanted this kind of thing.
No, they can still do that, even if the show ends before he dies.
Yeah, that would be a good ending either way.
Yeah. So, speaking of the whole Danny DeVito thing, I'm just curious. Caitlin Olsen also has that show High Potential.
Mm-hmm.
Were there any episodes where she was missing or felt like she has a smaller role? Or did it feel like, no, Dee feels like she's in the same amount as usual?
I don't think, it's possible it felt like some of her B plots felt pretty separate, come to think of it. But nothing obvious. But yeah, this show seems like you always think something, because there's one season where everyone was speculating that Dennis Glenn Howerton was going to leave the show, because I think in addition to being in the show AP Bio, he also started being in a lot of movies. And so people were speculating, oh no, the show's going to end, or he's going to leave the show. And there's an episode where he leaves the show, but he doesn't actually. Like, it's a direct commentary on the fact that everyone thought that was going to happen. So it just feels like, even though everyone expects that something's going to, it seems like the whole crew, they always find the time to make it. So yeah, season 17.
Oh, yes. So I guess I'll get into my number 5 show of 2025. And mine is an animated show that airs on Fox. No, it is not the one you're thinking of. It's another one. It's called Grimsburg. That's right. So, recently I was just like, you know what? Because, Futurama and King of the Hill are back, I was like, you know what? Let me try some of the other Fox animated shows that they air. And, tried Crapopolis, didn't really work for me. Universal Basic Guys I didn't like. Then I watched Grimsburg, and I was like, you know what? I think I kind of like this. So, Grimsburg follows Detective Flute in this city called Grimsburg, which is this horrible, horrible town where awful stuff happens all the time. Basically, every episode is like, if you combine Harley Quinn with Treehouse of Horror, that's Grimsburg, basically.
Yeah.
So, Grimsburg, you have Detective Flute, voiced by John Hamm, and you have his partner, Greg Summers, who is half man, half cyborg. And you also have his son, Stan Flute, who Flute really doesn't pay that much attention to, because he's a very terrible father. But you have Stan, who has an imaginary best friend named Mr. Flesh, who convinces Stan to do these horrible, horrible things. And also you have Flute's archenemy, Dr. Pentos, who is now a teacher. I can't remember how, but somehow he's a teacher at Stan Flute School, which I believe is like a school for the criminally insane or something like that. So, yeah. So, look, sometimes the jokes are kind of stupid, and you're like, oh, really? But most of the time, when it works, it's really funny. So, I just was pleasantly surprised by this show. I really have been enjoying it. I want to give a couple shout-outs episodes. One is Haunted Housewife, and that's where Flute moves in to this haunted house that is haunted by a woman who killed her husband. So, and then she becomes obsessed with Flute and in love with him, and he has to deal with how to dump the house. Another one is one called Molly, which is a parody of Megan, where Flute gets like this robot doll for his son and finds out that she's evil.
Yeah.
And my favorite episode so far of 2025 was the episode Crime Con, which is where all of the police department, all the criminals of Grimsburg come together for, it's like a Comic-Con, but celebrates crime and crime fighting. So you have Flute trying to prove that this former cannibal murderer is still a murderer. And one of the B plots is that, what was his name? The Flute's arch enemy. I had it up just a second. Where was it? I just said it and the name escapes me. It's the one voiced by Alan Tudyk. Oh, Dr. Pentos. He goes, he takes his students there as kind of a field trip, and he sees that, hey, he has a bunch of fans at that con. And he tries to live up to the legacy that he has created, where he has these fans obsessed over him, and unfortunately, he cannot live up to the legend. So there's that. So yeah, I was pleasantly surprised with Grimsburg, which is my number 5 show of 2025.
Cool. Yeah, I don't know where I heard it mentioned that this was actually pretty good recently. So now that I've heard of that again, I should really check it out.
Oh, yes.
I'll get into my number 4, but then I'll let you get into your number 4 really quickly here, because my number 4 is The Paper.
Okay.
And we've said all the stuff we need to say about the show working and why it works and why we didn't expect it to, and then why that didn't end up coming to be. It's ended up being a really good show because it found its own voice, even though, taking a bit of voice from The Office, obviously, but really found its own, its own little slice within this universe. So, my number 4 is The Paper.
Oh, yes. All right, so I'll move on to my number 4, which is, it's the Fox show you thought I was going to bring up. It is The Simpsons.
Yeah.
That's right. So, I mean, what can you really say about The Simpsons that we haven't said on here before? Look, when The Simpsons hits it out of the park, it's really tough to beat. So, Now I will say, this season, overall, enjoyable season, but this season did have a few more duds than usual. And, before we talk about the best, I do have an unfortunate thing to say, which is that this season had the show's worst episode ever.
Just ever? Wow.
Ever.
That seems insane, but
it is.
Wow.
It is crazy to think about, but it was. Let me check. I believe it was called The Yellow Planet. Unfortunately, it was the last episode that had Pamela Hayden voice Milhouse before she retired.
Huh.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, Yellow Planet. That's the episode. It is truly the worst episode of the entire series. An episode where I wonder, did you even try? And it unfortunately kind of made me say, and this was the thing, this was a Disney Plus episode.
Mm-hmm.
And it unfortunately made me say, you know what, in my head, Fox Simpsons and Disney Plus Simpsons are two different things. Fox Simpsons, awesome. Disney Plus Simpsons is terrible.
Wow.
And was their last one, and it was kind of the final nail of like, wow, Disney Plus Simpsons is truly atrocious. So, but overall, still a good year for The Simpsons. And I do have a couple episodes to shout out. One of them being, of course, I have to say it. We bring it up all the time, but I have to. Treehouse of Horror, episode 36. Once again, Treehouse of Horror knocked it out of the park. My favorite one was The Clown Night of the Devil, which I guess is a parody of Late Night with the Devil. And that's an episode where the Krusty the Clown Halloween special has the devil come and appear on the show. So
Late Night with the Devil was on my best movies list last year. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's a great movie.
So that was my favorite segment of Treehouse of Horror. Always enjoy Treehouse of Horror. Another one that I really enjoyed was Bad Boy. It's a flashback episode to a young Bart, and we see kind of his relationship with Homer kind of in a new perspective. So, without giving too much away, that's what it was. The Day of the Jack-Up, that might be my favorite episode of 2025. You know what? No, I will say, that was the best episode of 2025. That is the episode where it's kind of a parody of, what was that movie called? Trap. It's a parody of the 2024 movie Trap, where they're building a new arena in Springfield, and this K-pop band that Lisa really likes goes there, and someone buys all the tickets and scalps them, and then Springfield police work with the FBI to try to catch the scalper. And, you know, the Simpsons family goes to the concert, and Bart just decides to go to a concession stand or something, and he asks, hey, what are all the cops doing here? And he gets told, hey, we're gonna finally arrest the scalper, and we know that the scalper is in this arena. And that's when we, the audience, learn that Bart is the scalper, and he has to try to find a way of how to get out of there. So that was my favorite episode of the year. And another great one was Aunt Misbehavin'. That was a Patty and Selma episode where you see them kind of go different paths. And it has one of my favorite subplots where, to get back at Homer on his DMV thing, they declare him legally dead to try to ruin his life. But he is so happy because he doesn't have to pay taxes. He can break the speed limit, and he can't give a ticket to a dead guy. And it culminates with, to try to help Patty and Selma, he must give up his death status. So, yeah. So I was really happy, even though there were more duds than usual this year, and we unfortunately had the worst episode this series has ever had. The good did outweigh the bad this year, so there we go.
Yeah, that's good. Well, yeah. Me and The Simpsons is like you and It's Always Sunny, except even more extreme because I have twice as many seasons. Literally or more than twice as many seasons. Well, but but yeah,
One day you'll get there.
Yeah,
one day.
I'm a little morbidly curious about the extremely bad episode because I read it sounds bad.
Oh, it's awful.
But anyway,
I truly don't get how it got greenlit. I truly don't understand how someone's like, "Here's my idea," and they weren't just like, "What are you thinking?"
Yeah. It sounds like a forced, because it sounds like it's supposed to be like a Planet Earth thing, right? Or like a Discovery Channel kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it seems like sort of
National Geographic, because that's now owned by Disney too.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, either way, it seems like a forcing of things they own, mashing together things they own.
Yeah. It was tough.
Let's move from Disney Fox to an HBO original.
Oh.
and that is a brand new series. The first season aired this year, has just been renewed for a second season. And I've been excited for this for a while. I didn't know what it was going to be. I didn't know what to expect when I watched it. I was right to not to know what to expect. But that is The Chair Company.
Oh, I've seen poster or the thumbnail for this on HBO.
Yeah, and so I've become just a big fan of anything Tim Robinson does. Tim Robinson, who was a writer at SNL and eventually started appearing in some skits. And
yeah,
then
I remember him appearing in some.
Yeah. And then he moved on to do Detroiters, which that's a somewhat older show, which I watched for the first time this year. Very good show, Detroiters. And then his sketch comedy show, I Think You Should Leave. So this is his next show that he co-created and stars in. And it truly is like, you hear the description, and it's like, really, that's what the show is? And then it really is just what the show is. It's crazy. But anyway, this guy that Tim Robinson plays has a very embarrassing moment where a chair that he's sitting at an important meeting collapses, and he falls down and makes a fool of himself. And he starts to become obsessed with finding out who manufactures the chair and talking to someone there so that he can... And so the whole 8 episodes is him trying to get to the bottom of this chair company. And it oddly... There is kind of a weird, dark, like, corporate secret thing going on. So it's very much... It is a comedy, but it's so intense and dark at times. Like, that... I say intense and dark. I don't mean that in a drama way. I just mean that it's sort of like the cringe comedy aspect of it. Like it feels uncomfortable to watch because he's so just like, I must find this out. He's like ruining his family's lives, and he's going to extreme lengths to figure out what the deal is with this chair company. And it's a little difficult to shout out a particular episode because this really is more 8 parts of one story split up. But
was this a limited show, or is there like talks of a season 2?
It was renewed for season 2.
Okay.
So apparently they're going to go somewhere else with it. But I think it was episode 4. I remember being like, okay, now it's gone really crazy. But yeah, I would just recommend the whole show, The Chair Company. So, yeah, yeah, I love, like I said, love anything Tim Robinson does, and it's just sort of something where, like, I think his sense of humor isn't for everyone. Like, a lot of people will say, like, the humor is just yelling. Well, guess what? It's funny to watch him yell at people. It's really funny.
What he yells about, pure gold.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, that was my number 3.
Yeah, that did just remind me, like, what you were talking about. Like, I just decided to torture myself and see a little bit of a recent SNL episode, and there was one sketch where, like, they kind of, like, were talking about the same subject that Larry David did on an episode of Curb. Oh. I'm just like, but the way Larry did it was so much better than the way this is doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so I guess I'll go to my number 3 show of the year, and it is my favorite live-action sitcom that is currently airing on TV. So my number 3 show is ABC's Abbott Elementary. That's right. So, man, with so many episodes we get, because thank God, one show still knows how to put out 20 episodes a year and have them be satisfying.
Yeah.
Not this, we're going to have 8 episodes every 3 years. And you know what? Maybe, if we're lucky, 5 of them will be good.
Yeah.
So, so So a lot happens in a year on Abbott Elementary, but the things that really stick out to me was, this season I thought did a really good job of exploring why Ava is still the principal of Abbott Elementary, because we see, because of how she takes the bribes from the golf course, it leads to her getting fired from that position. It's almost kind of like the Michael Scott Paper Company storyline where you had Michael leave, but here you have Ava leave. And then you see the teachers try to get her back. And I just remember this show, when it started, it was because Ava was in the principal's seat because she was able to blackmail the superintendent who was having an affair. And at first you're like, wow, she shouldn't be there. It should have been someone like Gregory. But this season, you were just like, you know what? I'm glad Ava's back, because she does kind of bring, even though she is such a crazy character, she does make that place run better. So, because there's so many episodes that happen in a season, it's hard to remember all of them. But, yeah, that was a storyline. I also liked how we saw Jacob try to find a club for this one kid who wasn't feeling engaged. And I thought that was a really interesting storyline, especially because, look, no one likes going to school. No one likes that. But it's those club things that are kind of like your reward for going to school, because it's not like you're going to get paid for it, so you might as well get something out of it. So I thought that was a real interesting plot line. So, yeah, I think Ava and kind of the clubs were kind of the big things that stood out to me this season. So I do have a couple episodes I'd like to shout out. One of them is, obviously, we're not going to talk much about because we already did the Volunteers episode, the crossover with It's Always Sunny. That thing was so good, and it did live up to the hype. Another one they had was Team Building, which was the premiere of season 5, and that's where the district has the teachers kind of outdoors and they compete for stuff. Greg, have you seen any of this season?
No, in fact, I was going to say I kind of forgot to add Abbott Elementary to my list. I think in part because I was thinking, well, I haven't started season 5 yet, but some of season 4 did air in 2025. So
I think actually a majority of season 4 did in 2025.
Yeah, so I guess pretend I'm adding it here. But,
okay.
But yeah, I haven't seen any of season 5.
So they participate in group activities, and outside, that's where Gregory decides he's going to teach Mr. Johnson how to ride a bike. So that was a great storyline. And also, I think we're in season 5. This show's been going on a little bit. And we see Janine kind of wonder, what is her place now at doing, as a teacher for all these years. And we see that one of the new hires is a former student that Barb had. And it almost feels like she almost has this feeling of like she's being replaced by this guy, at least in terms of like how he's being mentored by Barbara because he was her teacher. And, kind of by the end of the episode, she realizes like maybe her place is also kind of being a mentor to him too. So I thought that was a very good episode. Let's see. Oh, my favorite episode of at least this season, because I'm not gonna lie, season 4 was a while ago. But
yeah.
So like, look, I'm not gonna lie, some of this is recency bias, but my favorite one of this season so far has been Game Night, and that's where where Janine is gonna host, a game night, board game night.
Yeah.
But there's a problem at her apartment, so they decide to host it at Gregory's apartment. And it doesn't. He's very like order-like.
Yeah,
like,
I could see what could.
So it doesn't go exactly the way anybody wants.
Mm-hmm.
So that was good. But again, what makes the episode even better was the B plot, and that's where Barb, Melissa, Ava, and Mr. Johnson go to the DMV because I think it's they want to renew their licenses, and Mr. Johnson needs to get a passport.
Yeah.
So that was a great storyline. So far, Game Night has been my favorite of 2025, and also the Halloween episode they did, camping, where Barb decides to kind of create this activity thing where on Halloween they'll take a bunch of the students on a camping trip, and how, you know, all the stuff, the horrible stuff you hear about camping, how it's all there. Although Barb does kind of shell out some cash to make it tolerable. Like, she brings in this fancy kind of bathroom spot, a fancy bathroom thing, so that no one has to just go into the woods. But yeah, that was a really good one. So yeah, overall, once again, Abbott Elementary had another really great year. I've really been impressed with this show. I'm glad to see that even season 5, it's still going strong.
All right. Yeah, absolutely great show that everyone should watch. That's for sure. Getting into my number 2 is a season 2 of a show. It is a show that I've talked about a lot on here, and I really try to just talk about to anyone who will listen. And every time I try to talk about it, I start talking about it, and then I'm like, I promise I'm not describing a weird dream I had. This is a masterpiece of a show that is just one of my favorite things that is on in this era of our lives, and that is The Rehearsal. The Rehearsal season 2 came out this year, and I think it took it above and beyond. It flew above even the first season.
Oh.
So, season 1 was ostensibly on some level, although it goes into this weird Andy Kaufman-esque meta-narrative type thing that describing the show doesn't even really describe the show. But season 1, the point was it's a docu-series. Like, it's not scripted. It has a reality aspect, although everyone knows they're being filmed. So I guess more of like a TLC, like people know they're being filmed for a show,
yeah,
but it's not scripted and there's real people involved. But it was basically like episode 1 of season 1 is we're going to help this guy rehearse revealing something that he's afraid to reveal to one of his friends. And to rehearse it, we're going to go to such elaborate heights with an HBO budget that it's funny how much part of the humor is just how much money they spent on it. Like, it truly is just like they rebuilt, like point for point rebuilt the bar that he was going to do this big reveal at exactly. And so basically it was just, we're going to help people rehearse a thing that they want to get better at, or that something they're worried about. In that episode, in that season, kind of the overlining thing was rehearsing being a parent. Like, I'm afraid of being a parent, so I'm going to rehearse being a parent. This season completely is about rehearsing as a way to help pilots. It's all about airline travel and pilots.
Wow.
So in part, it's trying to rehearse with real pilots, trying to prepare them to be willing to explain. Sorry, willing. They. Sorry, one second. Okay. Yeah. So they basically, it has Nathan Fielder comes up with this idea that part of the reason some airline crashes have happened is because the the co-pilot is afraid to bring up something to the big boy, the big pilot. And so he tries to like implement this and get this passed in law and stuff. and it eventually twists and turns into he decides to become licensed to fly. Like comedian Nathan Fielder becomes licensed to fly a 737 airplane.
Oh, wow.
And he does so, and then he actually flies one with a bunch of people on it, and I would call it a miracle over the Mojave. Just an absolute. He saved 150 lives that day by not letting anyone die.
Wow.
But yeah, and you can see in the bottom right there, he does try to live as Sully Sullenberger or whatever. And that's kind of one of the episodes I would recommend, where he poses that maybe the reason Sully Sullenberger was able to do that is because of the song "Bring Me to Life" by Evanescence, which I thought was beautiful. But yeah, The Rehearsal season 2. I will never feel the same about flying aircrafts ever again.
Oh, no. All right, so now I guess I'll move on to my number 2 show of 2025. That's right, and that is the animated series Tiny Toons Looniversity. That's right. This season was its final season, unfortunately. Not surprising because of how Warner Brothers has been treating its animation lately. But again, this has been such a good show. It really lives up to the legacy of the original. Because you got to remember, that original show began a whole new era for Warner Brothers in animation. It led to Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain and Freakazoid. And also, the success of that show led to Batman the Animated Series, and also then later Superman and Batman Beyond and Justice League Unlimited. And this show has done a great job bringing back Buster, Babs, Plucky, Hampton, also getting a bigger role to Sweetie in this series. And it is a different show than the original. Oh, by the way, I should say it's a reboot. It's not a sequel like Animaniacs was. It is a reboot. One difference that they have is that Buster and Babs are siblings. Don't know how I feel about that, but whatever. The show is still great on its own. So it just does a great job with that Looney Tunes humor. The big difference between this show and the original is that sometimes the story lengths would vary, but in this show, every episode is about 20 minutes, so it feels. And it's been great. And 2 episodes I'd love to give a shout out to are Things That Go Tweet in the Woods. And that's one where the group decides that they're going to go camping in the woods for the night. And Sweetie reveals that there was something in her childhood that really traumatized her being in the woods, and she has to confront that. So that was really interesting. And one of my favorite plots was the B plot with Plucky Duck, who gets like this big fancy RV that kind of has like a AI computer that controls everything, and then it turns on Plucky. So this thing that's supposed to help him relax makes his time in the woods totally miserable. And another one I really liked was Let Them Eat Quack. And that's one where Plucky learns that somehow he is the rightful ruler of a certain land. So the gang all goes to the certain land, and Plucky gets his reign and goes mad with power. That's right, inevitably. All his friends, Buster, Babs, Hampton, Sweetie, he throws them all in prison. And at the same time, Sweetie is trying to, like, convince the guards, like, you don't have to take this. Haven't you ever heard democracy? Power to the people. And eventually Plucky decides, sees the error of his ways and goes in disguise in the prison trying to say, hey, I can help you break out, even though everyone knows that's clearly Plucky. So that was a great episode. So, yeah, it came to a conclusion. I haven't seen the last few remaining episodes, but kind of felt full circle that the original show ended with a Christmas special. This series also ends with a Christmas special that I'm hoping to see sometime before the holiday season is over. But yeah, overall, you know, like we're used to seeing like certain characters get reinvented over the years, but it felt like because of like the deal or whatever, the Animaniacs and Tiny Toons characters can only come back if Steven Spielberg or Amblin is involved. So over the years, you kind of had to sadly accept that we weren't going to see them. But lately, we did have Animaniacs. We now recently had the Tiny Toons come back, and it's been a really nice return. I've really enjoyed having them back. And even though I would have loved to have seen the show go longer, still, we were given 20 some great episodes. 20 new great episodes of Tiny Toons, so a good run for what was a great series.
Cool. Good stuff. Well, I mean, I think that's going to bring us to each of our respective number one favorite TV things of the year.
That's true.
And for my number one, I have finally become a grown-up. And what do grown-ups like? They like prestige medical dramas.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Downton Abbey.
I don't. I don't like Downton Abbey, unfortunately.
Aren't you excited for when the Lord comes to the house for supper? We must clean all the spoons and get the tea on the kettle.
Yeah, I don't want to hear about rich people doing crap. But what I do like to hear about is another one of the more highly rated, just critically, shows of the year. And that is a show I didn't expect this to be a show that I would watch, but then suddenly I was at the end of the season and I'd watch the whole thing. It is The Pitt.
Oh,
so,
yes.
And The Pitt is a medical drama. So, part of the background of it is that the main character in this, and also kind of the main character in ER, the show that ran for over 10 years on NBC, Noah Wiley. I guess, him starring in ER, it kind of led to him having some knowledge about, or in connections to, and trying to do charity for medical professionals, and extending a lot of empathy towards medical professionals and what they do, and especially like with the pandemic happening, not too long before this show, which is to say not too long before, reality, but just kind of that kind of reawakening a bit of a need to empathize for medical professionals, I guess. So this show, and again, I love a good gimmick. If you give me some kind of like narrative gimmick in a show or movie, I will be all over it. And so it didn't matter what the show is about almost. The fact that the concept is that it is 15 episodes and that it is 1 hour of a shift. Like it's a 15-hour shift, and each episode is 1 hour of the shift. And so you're kind of basically in real time seeing one absolutely insane 15-hour shift in an ER. That concept alone is really ambitious and cool. And it really just feels like, oh my God, it doesn't stop. They're not getting a break. Oh my God. It's like, I'm curious. It'd be an interesting show to just binge 15 hours straight. I did not do that, but to be like, oh my, I'm tired. I can't imagine what they're feeling. But,
you should have watched it standing and walking around.
Yeah, exactly. But, man, even with that sort of gimmick, it still manages to find the time to make you feel for the characters and really establish and get to know the characters. And it's also a good premise that it's like the first day on the job for some of the younger nurses. And so that way they're teaching the nurses, and that way they get to explain to you what's going on as a viewer. So that's a good premise to kind of understand the action that's happening a little bit better. and the characters are so well written, uh, and even if it is, I'd actually be curious. I don't want to assume anything. Maybe it's a little unrealistic that in one day every single topic would be touched on. Like, oh, there's someone who got in a car accident. There's someone who's an alcoholic. There's someone who has a bacterial infection. There's someone who's giving birth. There's a shooting. There's other not safe for work sort of things that happen. Like, even though, I mean, hypothetically, I guess there could be a day in the medical field where all of those things happen in one day. It's hypothetically possible, but in the context of the show, if you suspend some disbelief, it does a good job of forcing you to think about a lot of these things and a lot of these serious topics, and of course, as I mentioned, with the and part of the drama of the show actually is that the main character is still dealing with some of the trauma that occurred during the pandemic and like losing loved ones, and hasn't been able to slow down ever since. It's just been go 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 the entire time, and so kind of the fatigue that kind of onsets from that. So really good show, highly recommend it. The episode recommendation would just be watch the first episode. It's one of those shows where it's like you watch the first, you'll watch the second one, you'll watch the second one after that, and then you watch the third one. So just watch the first episode.
All right, so I guess I'll move on to my number one show of the year. Yes, so guys, this is not only the number one show of 2025, it was also easily the best superhero adaptation of 2025. Easily, nothing even came close. And that is Season 1 of Disney Plus's Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. That's right. Now, look, when I sat down to watch it, I'm not going to lie, I was not excited. For a couple reasons. One, it had been since 2009, so however long that was. 16 years since we had a great Spider-Man show in the Spectacular Spider-Man. The, Ultimate Spider-Man did not work. The 2017 one, was pretty good, but nothing that blew me away. Also, MCU, Marvel Studios, bit of a struggle lately. And one character they've, had a mix, I think we can say at best, mixed results with is Spider-Man. So, and also the trailer. We talked about the trailer earlier this year and how the trailer was not very good. I can't believe someone at a trailer marketing company edited together the worst aspects of the show because that trailer does not show what this show is like. So I sat down and watched it and it blew me away. I loved it. They did a great job of, giving us a traditional Spider-Man Peter Parker story while also putting its own spin on it. And you know what? I'll say this. There was something about the origin story that we were told about, that we knew about ahead of time, that they said was going to differentiate this from other Spider-Man adaptations. And I was like, oh, really? But oh my God, in the season finale, there's a twist to where you're just like, brilliant. So I really enjoyed this story of Peter Parker. Again, we talked about before. It's kind of like in Civil War where he goes to the apartment. Aunt May is sitting with someone important. In Civil War, it's Tony Stark. In this show, it's Norman Osborn. And the show originally started as it was going to be a legit prequel to Tom Holland's Spider-Man. And then they just decided, you know what, screw it, let's just make our own thing. And that was such a great decision, because this doesn't just it's not like this feels like, oh, it's a cartoon version of Tom Holland, right? It feels just as much like Andrew's Spider-Man or Toby, or the 90s cartoon or Spectacular or the video games or Peter B. Parker from the Spider-Verse movies. It feels almost very Arrowverse-like in the terms of it kind of takes inspiration from so many different eras while also putting its own spin on it. And I thought that was really great. It did a great job of balancing the superhero Spider-Man side with Peter Parker's personal life. And I really loved how we had a great combination of new characters with the familiar Spider-Man cast. So you had Aunt May, Norman Osborn, Harry Osborn, but you also had let me see, I gotta look up her name real quick. Peter's best friend in the show. Let me look up her name. But you also had Pearl, who is a girl who was his babysitter when he was younger, and he has Nico is his best friend. She was great. You also had Pearl, who was someone that Peter had a crush on, and you also had Lonnie Lincoln, who is a big football player and is grouped with Peter to work together on a science project, and that's how they kind of become friends throughout the whole series. And just so everyone knows, Lonnie Lincoln eventually becomes the villain Tombstone, who we know from the 90s cartoon, and the video games, who's also going to appear in Spider-Man Brand New Day. So there was that. I thought that, again, just like with X-Men 97, this show really benefits from those longer 30-minute run times where you can go more into the personal stories of the character. You know, one personal story was the feeling of, like, with Peter, you know, spending so much time with Harry because Norman is mentoring Spider-Man, made Nico feel like she's being a little replaced. So, you know, they did great personal stuff that, you know, you don't get in like a 20-minute episode. So there was that. And we got to see some classic Spider-Man villains. We had Scorpion, Dr. Octopus, and we also get, you know, appearances from classic Marvel characters like Doctor Strange, Iron Man, Daredevil. So that was cool. The voice acting is very good in this show, particularly Hudson Thames as Spider-Man, reprising the role from What If. But, well, in What If, it sounded like he was doing a Tom Holland impression. In this show, he really has made the role his own. And also Coleman Domingo, great as Norman Osborn. Animation style does get some getting used to, but you really see why they did it in the web swinging moments, because that's where this animation really shines. And, you know, I wasn't a fan of the creative decision of 10 episodes. He really only gets the red and blue costume in the last two, but I mean, story-wise, it is kind of symbolizing that, like, he's not just going to listen to Norman, that, like, Spider-Man up until that point was the hero Norman wanted him to be, versus in the red and blue suit, he's finally the hero that Spider-Man is the hero Peter Parker wants to be, and he's made Spider-Man his own. So, narratively, even though I wish it happened earlier, narratively, it did make it really special when he got the red and blue suit. In a way, it almost felt like Smallville again. Like, you're waiting for that one specific suit, and then when he gets it, you're like, oh, yeah. So I do have a couple episodes to shout out. Duel with the Devil, that's one where, again, personal story of Peter trying to get Nico and Harry, his two best friends, to kind of be friends with each other. And also, he gets distracted because he has to leave his gathering to go do Spider-Man stuff. And that's an episode that has Daredevil and Dr. Octopus. And at the end, spoiler alert, Nico learns that Peter is Spider-Man and is really hurt that he told Harry and not her. So that was a great episode. I mean, I think my favorite episode of the series was Tangled Web. That's the episode where it follows what happened in the previous episode where Spider-Man fights a scorpion, is badly injured, it almost dies, and doesn't know if he really has it in him to be a hero. Like, he just has this constant self-doubt. And there's this great scene where May talks to Peter about how, like, she wishes Uncle Ben was still here to kind of help Peter with some of this stuff, because there's a moment where, like, Aunt May's just like, I know something's bothering you. You have to tell me right now. And then she's like to Peter, like, I wish there was someone else who could also be a mentor to you. So he goes to Norman Osborn. I think I mentioned it in my review. It gets to where Norman tells him, you know, Peter, you have great power. And with great power, you're like, oh, is he going to say the thing? Comes great respect. And you're like, no, he's bad. He's a bad man. So that's probably my favorite episode. And then another highlight was the episode Hero or Menace, the second to last episode of the season, where he finally has the red and blue suit. And he has his rematch against the Scorpion. And there's this big dramatic moment where Scorpion looks like he killed Lonnie Lincoln, or I believe it was, where it looks like he killed Lonnie Lincoln. And Spider-Man has Norman in his head of, with great power comes great respect. And he is going to kill Scorpion. And Lonnie's like, no, you can't do that. And Peter is just like, you're right. It was a very pivotal moment for Spider-Man. And it's really the moment where he's like, I'm going to be the hero I feel like I need to be. I'm not going to be the hero that Norman wants me to be. So, yeah, and look, I was blown away by this show. And look, before it aired, I was just like everyone else. You did X-Men 97. Why aren't you doing Spider-Man 98? By the way, you still can do both. I was completely blown away by this show. I do want to address something. A stupid thing I hear from people. Because I sometimes I don't understand fans. I am one of you, and sometimes I don't understand you. I don't get this feeling some fans have, well, I'm not going to watch this because I have the Spider-Verse movies. Oh, I'm just like, if you like, I don't know how to break this to you, but Spider-Verse, Miles, and Peter aren't real. They don't need your support. If you like one, you should enjoy the other. That argument is as dumb as saying, I don't need to watch any Spider-Man movie because I got the video games. Like, come on. It's such a stupid thing. But yeah, so I was completely blown away by this show. I love it. Again, following X-Men 97, it's another big win for Marvel Animation. And I have to say, when we look at Marvel's projects by Marvel Studios, this and X-Men 97 are in their top 5. It's up there with Civil War and No Way Home and Winter Soldier. In my opinion, I think these two projects are better than, the first Avengers movie, better than the first Iron Man. They are so high up there. And I just was blown away. And I'm going to say something that maybe I'll regret saying a year from now. Maybe I'll regret saying. Okay. Now, we talked about how much we love No Way Home, right? But we have been disappointed with how they've done Spider-Man, in the past at Marvel Studios. And, No Way Home is kind of an anomaly because it's kind of a 20th anniversary celebration type movie, you know what I mean? Or in a TV show, a 100th episode. But, even just looking at that movie before you have Tobey and Andrew come up, they got Tom Holland's Spider-Man on the right track. Now we've had this show that has fixed a lot of the issues that the MCU Spider-Man has had. I do believe that Marvel has learned their lesson with Spider-Man, and I think they get it now. I think their reaction before was, well, we have these other versions. We got to be different. I think the thing is, we have all these other versions. It's the same character. You just accept it. You don't just accept it, you embrace it. And remember, I was one of the original Spider-Man Homecoming haters. So guys, there you go. Check out some of these shows. We've listed a lot of shows. And guess what? There's not only just a bunch of shows, but you have a greater number of episodes you have to get through. So your homework, guys, is to watch every single one.